Welcome to this Understanding Society video, which gives an overview of the sample design for the study and explains how to use it when analysing the data. Understanding Society is a household panel survey which started in 2009. Every year, information is collected about members of the sampled households. Core sample members are eligible for interviews even when they move, as long as they are moving within the UK. So why do we have different samples in the study? The answer is that this is a multi-purpose study and the aim was to allow a wide range of research using this data. First, the sample needed to be large enough to allow analysis of minority samples, for example single mothers, persons with different types of abilities or disabilities. Second, it needed to have a wide geographic coverage to allow researchers to compare regional differences. Third, the sample needed to have a sufficiently large number of ethnic minorities and immigrant sample members to allow longitudinal ethnicity and migration research. Fourth was to allow longitudinal analysis over a long duration. And to achieve these aims, the sample was designed and selected as follows. Starting with the general population sample, also known as the GPS, which consists of approximately 24,800 households from Great Britain and around 2,000 from Northern Ireland. It is intended to be representative of the UK population in 2009 to 2010, but addresses in Northern Ireland were chosen with twice the selection probability as compared to the GB part. The large sample size allows analysis of small populations and the wide geographical coverage allows for geographical analysis and regional comparison. The higher selection probability for the Northern Ireland part was to allow a Northern Ireland sample that was large enough to allow country-level analysis. The Great Britain part had a clustered and stratified design with addresses being chosen from the small address postal address file, and the Northern Ireland part had a simple random sample design. Small address postal address file is the list of addresses that receive less than 50 letters per day. This was used as a sampling frame to exclude addresses that were most likely businesses or institutions. Now let's explore the Ethnic Minority Boost Sample, or EMBS. This contains around 4,000 households with at least one individual with an ethnic minority background. It was designed to allow longitudinal analysis of ethnicity and migration-related issues. The target was to survey at least 1,000 adults in each of the following groups: African, Bangladeshi, Caribbean, Indian and Pakistani groups, plus 1,000 from all mixed backgrounds, as well as Chinese, other Asian and Middle Eastern. By this we mean that the person or their parents or grandparents were from an ethnic minority group. To manage the costs, sampling was restricted to areas in Great Britain where the ethnic minority population was greater than 5%. That was approximately 35% of all areas in Great Britain and covered more than 80% of the 5 key ethnic group populations in Great Britain. British Household Panel Survey, also known as BHPS, is another household panel survey which started in 1991 and continued until 2008. It was decided to invite sample members from this survey who were still active in 2008 to Understanding Society to allow research of long-term change. Around 8,000 households agreed to participate, making the BHPS sample. The BHPS sample comprises 4 samples, the original Essex sample and 3 boost samples for Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. All of these had a clustered and stratified design for the Northern Ireland boost sample, which was a simple random sample. Addresses in the Scottish, Welsh and Northern Ireland boost samples had a higher selection probability than addresses in the original Essex sample. In the 6th wave of Understanding Society, an immigrant and ethnic minority boost sample, IEMBS, was added. This was to account for the population changes in the UK since Wave 1 and to allow for ethnicity and immigration-related longitudinal research. The target was to have 2,500 adult interviews from the 5 key target ethnic minority groups, such as in the EMBS, and 2,000 immigrants, allowing for some overlap between the 2 targets. As in the EMBS, the sample was selected from high ethnic minority and immigrant concentration areas in Great Britain. In 2022 to 2023, to boost the sample sizes and representativeness of the UK population, a new general population boost sample of 5,800 households was added. But unlike the first general population sample, here the addresses in Northern Ireland were selected with the same probability as the GB part. After the addresses were selected, each selected address, as long as that was a residential address and was occupied as the main residence, had up to 3 dwelling units selected. For example, if the address was an apartment building, a dwelling unit refers to an apartment, but if the address was a house, then that would be just 1 dwelling unit. And if there was more than 1 household at each dwelling unit, which is not very common, then up to 3 were randomly selected. All household members in each selected household that had agreed to participate, i.e. responding households, became part of the core sample. Core sample members and their descendants are eligible for interviews every year as long as they continue to live in the UK. So what does this mean when using the data? When you analyse the data, don't use the samples by themselves to select individuals for analysis, apart from the BHPS sample. This is because some of these samples, like the BOOST samples, are not selected from the whole population, and so your estimates will suffer from coverage error. However, you can select samples in other ways, for example, all people of one ethnic group, all women, or all employed people. Also remember, data from different samples are not provided in separate files, so if you don't actively do anything, you will be using all samples together, which is the correct method. Some sections of the population are overrepresented in these samples, for example, households in Northern Ireland for the general population sample and some ethnic minority groups. So any estimate based on the whole sample will be biased in favour of these overrepresented groups. Additionally, those who respond to the survey are generally systematically different from those who don't. This means the sample you use in your analysis is not representative of the UK population. Therefore, it's important to use weights, which are designed to correct for this. A link to watch our video on how to select weights is provided here. Not all samples are simple random samples, which is what all statistical software assume. So standard error estimates produced by these software will be incorrect. So it's important to specify the survey design variables strata and PSU when computing standard errors. The exact method will vary by software. A link to the study's user guide containing information on how to do this is also provided here. To know more about the sample design and weights, you can refer to the user guides listed here, along with help and support including our pathways, which provide a list of resources to help you use the data. You can also find out about our latest training and contact the user support team. This video is available as part of a series of training videos on our YouTube channel. You can find more useful videos on our website, understandingsociety.ac.uk.